Your mother has signed a contract with my boss." "Wait, I don't understand," she stammered, trying to make sense of what the woman had just said. "What don't you understand? For someone who is so sharp-mouthed, I expected you to be sharp-minded, but I guess not. Now, let me explain it to you. Your mother has signed the contract that involves you marrying my boss. If you try to run away from this, there's hell to pay," the woman warned. With what the woman just said, Ophelia knew that she was doomed. What was she to do now? This woman was basically threatening her. What did she mean by "there's hell to pay"? If anybody were to pay hell, it should be my mother. She was the one who signed a contract that would bring hell down on all of us, she said to herself. "Are you done thinking?" the woman said, snapping her out of her thoughts. "Because I don't have all day." She just nodded. She knew that at this point her mouth would not save her. Her life was going down a hole that she probably would never be able to retrieve it from. She knew she was doomed from the moment she was born into this family. Never in her wildest dreams did she ever think she would be set up without even meeting the person. Is this not like the 21st century? Why is my mother so old school? She thought to herself. Cynthia got up from beside her and went to call the attendant. Once the attendant came, she looked at Ophelia. "Would you like to try some dresses now?" Ophelia nodded in response. That's all she could do. Her tongue was permanently cut off. The news was too much for her to bear. She kept thinking of ways to avoid all of this, but she saw none. She sorted out all her thoughts and tried to concentrate on the work at hand. Since she was merely a business transaction, she would have to act like one. She wore some of the dresses and came out looking as sad as ever. Cynthia ignored her face. "What do you think about this one, Ophelia?" "It's okay." "That means it's not okay." Cynthia turned to the attendant and asked her for a more expensive one. The attendant wheeled in another rack of dresses. "This is also special, but instead of crystal designs, these are diamonds." Ophelia opened her mouth in shock. Who would wear a wedding dress covered in diamonds? It means I would be kidnapped at that wedding, she thought to herself. "Ophelia, put on one of the dresses," Cynthia ordered. "Please talk to me more politely. I'm not a slave," she said in anger. "I'm glad you finally know that you are not a slave, so stop behaving like one and stop behaving like a child. Put on one of the clothes, choose one that you like, and let's be gone from here so that we can go to the shoes and bag store." "I won't do anything that you ask me to, except you talk to me politely," Ophelia fired back. She wouldn't let this woman off the hook so easily. She wasn't somebody to be tossed around like a piece of rag. She was done with that life. "Okay, you know what? Go in. Please try a dress. Please pick one, please, so we'll get out of here." Cynthia feigned an apology. Sophia thought that was better than none, so she took one of the dresses and went to change. When she came out, she looked like a goddess. It was a floor-length gown which had a train behind it. The whole body was designed with diamonds, including the long sleeves. It didn't feel heavy on her body. She felt like a star. Although she felt it was too expensive, she felt good wearing it. "I'll take this one," Ophelia said with authority in her voice. "Congratulations, now you sound like my boss's wife. Keep it up," Cynthia said, commending her. After the wedding store, they went to a Versace store where Cynthia knew the attendant well enough. "Oh, my friend, you're back. How are you? What do you need? I'll give you anything you want," the attendant said, smiling at Cynthia with recognition in her eyes. "Sharon, I would like you to meet my boss's wife-to-be, Ophelia. She will also be patronizing you very frequently from now on. Henceforth, I want you to give her nothing but the best." "Oh, we have something for her." "What occasion is she going for?" the attendant asked. "She is going for her wedding. We need something white and beautiful, something attractive." "Okay, I think we got that. Follow me," Sharon said, gesturing to them. They got to a place where there were shoes and bags on display. "These are uniquely crafted Versace pieces, but if you want something special, we can make it for you instead. So, this unique design is only for you and no one else," Sharon said, gesturing to the pieces she was referring to. Cynthia turned to look at Ophelia. "So, which would you prefer?" "I would prefer something already made. I think I like that one over there," she said, pointing to a studded half-covered white sandal with a stiletto heel. It looked exquisite. Good choice, madam. That's the only one left in that collection, so you are the only one who would have the last one," Sharon said with a smile that made Ophelia smile as well. "Good. We'll take it," Cynthia said, handing over her card. "Sharon, does it happen to have a bag that goes with this?" "Oh, yes, my bad, it does. I'm sorry it's currently not on display because of how special this collection is, but I'll bring it out for you if you would like to see it. Are you interested in buying it?" "Of course we are, Sharon, so go and bring it," Cynthia said, encouraging her. The attendant hurriedly went into the back of the store and came back out with a box, opening it to show off the bag. When this piece was made, there were only 7 of them. "You are the 7th one. I'm sorry I forgot to bring out the bag." "It's okay, Sharon, but next time, make sure you always bring out the bag for your clients, okay?" Cynthia said, lightly scolding her friend. Ophelia giggled a bit at their friendship. She thought Cynthia was the uptight type, but as she spent the day with her, she realized she wasn't. Then at that moment, she remembered she had to go back to the office. "Cynthia, I have to go back to the office. My lunch break is almost over." "Don't worry about that. My boss has spoken to your boss and they've given you the day off, so enjoy it," Cynthia said without a care as she collected the package from her friend. "Your boss? Does he have such power to do that?" Ophelia wondered about the man she was going to marry. Cynthia looked at her incredulously. "I can't believe you don't even know him. He has the power to do almost everything," Cynthia said with admiration in her voice. "You seem to like the boss. Why aren't you the one marrying him?" Ophelia pointed out. "That is not the admiration I have for my boss, you've got it wrong. Have you ever been in love before?" Cynthia asked, knowing the answer to that question already. "Well, it doesn't matter if I've been in love or not. You seem to really, really like your boss a lot," she said, folding her arms across her chest. Cynthia turned to her friend Sharon. "I'll be coming back in a few days. Have a good day," she said, walking out of the store as Ophelia followed after her. When they got to the car, which was parked outside, the driver came out and opened the door for them. There was silence during the ride back. Ophelia had a lot of questions in her head, but she could not ask them. She felt foolish asking certain questions to Cynthia because of the way she always answered. In a few moments, the car came to a stop. Ophelia looked out the window. They had gotten to her apartment. She became confused again. How did this woman know where I lived, and at what point did we get to the apartment and I did not realize it? Cynthia turned to her. "It was really nice meeting you. Have a good day," she said, dismissing her politely. Ophelia quickly got out of the car, and Cynthia passed her all the shopping they had done. As soon as she had everything in her hands, the car drove off, leaving her standing in the street. She looked at her apartment building and remembered that she did not come with her car. "Oh God, I forgot it. I'll have to go back for it," she said to herself as she made her way to her apartment building. Once she got there, she opened her apartment and locked it behind her as she entered. She sat down on her sofa with all the shopping in her hands. How can I escape this? I could easily say I have a terminal disease and the man would not want to marry me. No, I have to go for something more grievous than this. Or maybe I would say I'm a wanted criminal. This man sounds like a beast. He's so weird. Why can't he show his face? She asked herself so many questions she did not even have the answers to. She struggled to her room and collapsed on the bed. Just at that moment, a call came into her phone. She took the phone out of her bag and saw that it was her mother calling. What does this woman want again? I guess more insults. She's like the insult factory, she said out loud to nobody. After the phone rang several times, she decided to pick up. "Ophelia, where were you when I was calling? Were you planning I'll grow old on the phone?" "Well, all I wanted to tell you is that you have to move your things to the house. I heard you went shopping today. Tomorrow is your wedding, so I would like you to change in the house," her mother said, and hung up on her. She looked at her phone, thinking that it was a dream she was having. Did her mother just say she was getting married tomorrow? What? Why? This woman must be insane. I have not even met the man yet, and I'm getting married tomorrow. She had to go over there and ask some questions, and she'd be taking this shopping along with her. Unbelievable, so unbelievable, she said to herself as she looked for her car keys. She ordered an Uber that took her back to her workplace. Her shopping was with her. Once she got to her office, she paid for her Uber, got down, and placed the shopping bags inside the boot of her car. She drove hurriedly to the Bennett mansion. She felt that she could salvage the situation, at least get out of this marriage before everything crumbled. In no time, she had gotten to the mansion. She parked her car and got out. She was ready to fight her way to freedom. She had become a prisoner overnight, and she committed no crime. She wanted to know what her crime was. Luckily, when she got into the mansion, her mother was in the living room. As she entered, her mother smiled at her. "The bride-to-be is here," she said. "What bride-to-be, Mother? I can't believe you sold me. I know you hated me, but I didn't know to what extent. Now I do," Ophelia said. "Shut up and listen to me. There is nothing you can do about this. I have already signed the contract. If you try to run away from this, trust me, we are all going down. So it's best you put on your good face and get married tomorrow. At least in this way you have achieved something great for your life. I can't believe you are still fighting for the useless life you had before. Go inside, shower, and go to bed because it's going to be early tomorrow morning," her mother said, dismissing her. Ophelia was fuming with anger. There was nothing else she could do. Her mother was saying the same thing Cynthia said, so there was no way out of this. She turned around and went to her sister's room. Her sister wasn't there. She went to the room she always stayed in whenever she was in the mansion. She laid in bed and cried, wailing loudly, not caring who was listening. That night she basically cried herself to sleep and hoped that tomorrow would never come. By the next morning, she heard movements in her room. Once she opened her eyes, 6 people were there. "Good, you are awake. Praise God. Now all of you, this is the bride. Make sure she looks good for her groom," her mother said as she left the room for all of them. Ophelia was still in a haze of sleep as she looked at the people in front of her. So today really came. I thought I was dreaming. She got out of bed lazily and went to take her shower. Once she was out of the shower, there was pulling, prodding, and setting. One person was plucking at her eyebrows while another was pulling at her hair. One was hooking her into a corset so that her dress would look perfect. In no time, she was ready for the wedding. "Can you get me a shot of whiskey? In fact, if you find the bottle, please bring it all," she said to one of the people dressing her. They looked at her in shock. "Just bring the bottle," she said with authority. One of them quickly went to the kitchen, found a bottle in the cabinet, and took it for her. Once she got it, she drank from the bottle. She took a long swig that made everybody in her room gasp in fear. She looked at all of them. "Haven't you ever seen a bride drink before? I need it for motivation," she told them as she took another swig from the bottle. Once she was done, they left her to her mother. Her mother, in turn, led her to where everybody had gathered. From a distance, she was surprised at how many people showed up for her wedding. Most of them she did not know anything about. She wondered where her mother got all these people from. Before she knew it, she was at the aisle, walking down to meet a man at the end of it. Her mother held her arm firmly as she walked. Once she got to the man, she smiled at him. He looked fairly handsome. "Hello, my name is Alan. I am Alexander's cousin. I'm standing in."